Hello, FewCandy here, and welcome back to another episode of Cities Skylines. And thank you all so much for the support on the last stream where we built this really colourful, bright residential district right in the foreground of our downtown skyline here. And I absolutely love how it turned out. It was not as I expected at all, this residential district to go. It was all brought off ideas from you guys on the stream, which I just love. I just love that community spirit and coming together to create something that's actually really quite magical. I really would have never expected it to go this way. And I have made a couple of tweaks since the stream, so I have adjusted this so it's just one door with the archway through on our skywalk there that people are using now, which is great to see. And yeah, I just can't stop admiring this in the nighttime with all the lights coming through, the subtle lights that we've got on these buildings in our Rainbow Heights residential district. So thank you. And we did, of course, also make this little snowman coven, slightly unusually, little mafia snowman coven sitting under the highway here next to the recycling centre in this little auto parts garage that we've got going on here. A couple of bars in the back of the bars there. Love how that turned out. So again, thank you for all the ideas on the stream for this. And there's our little nightlife district hiding under the highway there as well. So all in all, the downtown is slowly coming together. And today we are actually going to turn our attention to this massive big park area that I was saving for a big park. So that's what we're going to work on today. So here we are at our park, and the first thing that I actually do want to do is just to look at this university administration building and do something with this so that it feels like it has a little bit of more importance than just sitting on this main road here. So what we are going to do is grab just a 2-lane road, and I think I will do the one with the central grass reservation here so that it looks nice and important for this building. And then we'll just set our building back just a little bit so that we can then align it to this road in a second. And we'll bring this all the way across and then down into this road node here. So we'll just turn anarchy on for this. And I think now we can actually delete these power lines. So let's just get rid of those really quickly. So this is how we'll set up the main administration building. And I'm just going to use node controller here just to adjust these nodes back ever so slightly so that they're nice and smooth. And the turn into them and out of them is really smooth like that. And I'm thinking actually what we will do is make this one way actually rather than the central grass reservation. I think that will make more sense. So let's just take the one-way grass lined road like so. So it kind of completes that little roundabout feel there. Now, right in the centre of it, I would like to place the academic fountain from the trade school here. So we're going to want to make sure that this is absolutely perfectly centre aligned like that. And then what we will do is just move this up so that, again, so that it's perfectly centre aligned with this avenue. Because our line of sight down this avenue is a really big, important one. We come right from this central plaza and actually right from the Gherkin. We see right from the Gherkin all the way down this street to the academic administration building there. And with the flags lining here and the trade school fountain there, I think that that is going to look really rather nice. But for now, let's just make sure people have got really good pedestrian access to it. So let's just grab our trade school path. And we'll create some paths here, just snapping to the grid, like so. But then up here, what I would like is definitely some cross ends on this road so that people can get across. So we're just going to add them in right here. And then we'll use move it, holding Alt, so that we keep those roads nicely aligned to move those nodes up so that those paths just cross over perfectly in front of the building there. And actually what I will do is, well, Lexi will probably kill me for using too many nodes, but add an extra crossing in there just so people can get straight across into this academic fountain. And I'm actually going to just turn that around as well so that it's facing the main administration building there. And there is lots of detailing to be done in here. So what I will do is I think use a little bit of tiling to make this pop here. There we go. So I think that gives us a really nice forefront to this building. And what I do want to do is actually just make sure that we're continuing on with these flags here as well. So we will definitely have, and let's make sure the wind direction is the same as these ones as well. So I think it's kind of going that way so it doesn't look too strange. And we're going to have these on those two back corners there. And then I think in the front we'll add just a couple of little planters here, just to round out these corners nicely this side. And in fact, now that I'm looking at it, for symmetry's sake, let's also add them this side, but the flagpoles can sit in really nicely into the corners there. And then what we'll do is just choose a couple of nice flowers that we can add into these. So I think that that will actually do really rather nicely for that central plaza. And then what we'll do in the detailing time lapses, we'll then add in little details to those other blocks there. Now that we've got that in, the next job is actually to extend out this little river lake district here. And I'd really like to extend it out into this whole park area so that we've got small streams running throughout, and maybe a little boating lake is what I'm thinking in here as well. And we'll come on to the grander plans in just a second, but for now let's clear out all of these trees to start so that we've got a nice clean area to work from. So first things first, we'll grab our terraforming tools and we're just going to put this on a really small brush size. I'm going to grab the height at the bottom of this lake here and then start dragging out a small little river area. Now what I'd like is it for it to come under the road here. So let's just grab this road type and we will upgrade this to a bridge so that we can get nicely underneath it here. And we'll worry about the trees and the rocks and that kind of thing afterwards. And I want it to do a little bit of winding as it comes down around this area here. And then we'll follow-ish the tram road a little bit here and then cross underneath at this section. So we'll just grab this piece of tram road and again we're just going to upgrade that to elevated so that we can bring this little river underneath. We'll grab the height that we want again and just continue to draw this out this way. And we'll just create a very small little lake down in this corner. We want to get the edges as natural looking as possible here. But again, lots of rock detailing is going to help that as we go through. Now this side again, I would like to bring out another section which is going to head off in this direction. So let's again just convert this piece of tram line there to a raised section. And we'll just continue to bring this out this way. And here I think what we will do is have a very small kind of lake area with a little bit of an island in it. And I'm going for a very shallow stream, very similar to what we've got here. So we want to kind of have that running water effect down over rocks. Let's just have a very small lake like that. And then we will bring it out behind the administration building here. And now the metro line is slightly in the way, so I'm just going to go ahead and shift that over. And we will also actually just need to upgrade, I think, this section of road here to a bridge so that we can bring the river in nice and close to it. In fact, we'll just do both of those sections there for the moment. Not sure why that node's behaving quite as strangely as it is. So let's just check that that is definitely a middle. There we go, using node controller there. Similarly here as well, we don't really need the crossing there. So we'll just adjust that. And back into terraforming tools and we'll continue to bring this on round. Now then, this side, I definitely want a slightly larger lake. This is where I'm envisioning we could do a kind of very small little boating lake, something along those lines. So we'll just fill out a slightly larger area, a larger body of water down this side. Pulling that out ever so slightly. Again, trying to keep the shape of it very organic. Now with our water tools, we will grab this. We're obviously going to lower the water capacity right down to 0.01, which is the lowest it will go. And then let's make sure that we drag this down before it starts flooding. And we'll raise it up to pretty much as high as we can go without causing any flooding, which I think is about there, but we'll need to keep an eye on it. And then similarly, I'm going to come down this end as well and add in a water source down here too. So let's just hit pause before I flood the whole city. And we'll drag this right down to get the level right. And that's just so that we're controlling the flow of the water, so it's continuing to come out into the ocean this way. So let's just speed that up and see what happens. The height of the water I think is good. It's quite close up to the top of the edges of the banking. And yeah, the flow of it seems to be okay. Let's just drop that back down to single speed now. I think that that is all working out all right. Now we will come in and obviously detail this with lots of rocks and reeds and the similar type of vibe that we've got going on around orifices here. And we'll do that in the detail and time lapse later. But for now, let's focus on exactly what the main purpose of this park is going to be. And that is that it is going to be a zoo. So let's just start by drawing out a park area into this district. So now that we have our park district marked, and keeping that obviously the campus district separate because campuses and parks cannot overlap. And let's just tidy this up a little bit along this road. So what we want to do now is add in our main zoo gate. And I'm just going to drop it in right about here, I think. So we'll just bring out a straight road for now. And then we will get our main park gate in. So we are just going to use the big zoo entrance here. We'll drop it in here for now. Lots of detailing that needs to be done all around this. So we will come back to that. But the other thing that we definitely want to do and want to consider in here is having some parking. So I'm actually just going to shift this over slightly. So this is slightly more parallel to these buildings here. And then we can just spin this round and place it back nicely on the road like that. And then let's grab parking lot roads and get in a big parking lot. And so there we go. So we've got a nice big parking lot in there. Now, I do just want to bring this zoo path up and over so that people who are paying coming in through the main gate don't cross over this road and go out of the park. So we're just going to adjust this cycle road back ever so slightly so that we've got just a little bit of room in between it and the road here to bring up our zoo path. So that should do nicely for that. So let's then grab our zoo path and we can start looking at what assets we are going to bring in. Let's turn off stepping to nodes for this and we'll just bring that out to almost to the edge of the road. And then we are going to elevate this up by 6 meters here. So we get a nice smooth elevation over the road just like that. Now the space that we have here is fairly limited with our stream in now as well. So we're not going to be getting to a level 5 zoo today, but we are going to be concentrating on just making a really nice aesthetically pleasing zoo. And one with as many features as we can get in as well. So we'll start off actually by putting in the elephant enclosure over this side, which I think will be a nice feature. We'll hide it with a few trees. We'll just have the special elephants right up by the entrance here. And what we can do as well is start thinking about putting in a bit of an opening plaza for the entranceway as well here. And I'm actually going to just put the main zoo plaza out by the side of the entrance. And again, we'll come through with detailing when we come to do this in the detailing time lapse and just make sure that this is all aligned and flows nicely between the entranceway and this. So lots of fencing needed here, tree detailing, some paths, maybe some tiles, that sort of thing. And then out this side, yeah, I would like to bring in a central little plaza area where we can have the souvenir shop, we can have the cafe, and we can have some restrooms as well. And we'll actually just bring them out, I think, over on this corner here, so that they're slightly more central and easier to get to. And then what we can do here to flesh out this little plaza is just carry on the zoo tiles here in a bit of a pattern. So we'll bring them out into a nice open square here, filling up this area. And I want to leave a little bit of a line for some trees, I think, in between these buildings and the main entrance fence there. So we'll do it about that size. And then in particular with this cafe, I definitely want to look at trying to extend that. So we will bring out some more benches this side in just a straightforward pattern like that, and actually continue them on up round the edge of this plaza, just like that, just a little bit. So there's a little bit of extra seating going on there. And we can definitely get one of these big notice boards right here in the front. And in fact, actually what I'm going to do is put 2 of them in at a slight angle so that people can kind of gather around them and see what's going on. And we'll definitely have a big sign. Actually, we want this really on the corner there. We will also place one on the opposite side of the path here so that people know exactly where they're going round our zoo. I'm just going to also pop in a light just like that over these signs so that they're a little bit more visible there. And then I think the final thing I would quite like to just add into the middle of this is just a very small fountain. Just the base game vanilla fountain into there, like that. Now again, what we need to do is in the detailing time lapses come in with fences, some trees and decorate this all up. But that will do for a very simple start to our zoo here. And we definitely just want to make sure that we're bringing this path all the way around. So let's just pick that up and we'll continue it on down the side of this elephant enclosure here, because that's like the main sort of entrance, isn't it, into it. Get some souvenirs from the elephants there. So thinking about the assets this side, I definitely want the lions in here. So I'm just going to place these in and then we can move them around afterwards. And the other one I do want actually is the moose. I think this one looks quite nice as well. So again, let's just plop that in and we can shift this all around afterwards. And then I think also the monkey palace would sit quite nicely up against the back of this road here. That you can kind of see those bars from the road and know what you're coming through and into there. Let's just place them in there for a second. We do have our metro station here as well, which I would like to put in a side entrance next to that. So let's just grab our zoo side entrance and we'll place it in right next to it for now, just so that we know that that is there. And then I think right next to that, I would quite like the flamingos. Now we are a little bit tight on space here, so I am just going to pull this tram road over ever so slightly so that it's running up alongside it. Because what would be good is to have a little tram stop here as well. So in fact, what we can do now is actually just adjust this river back ever so slightly. So we'll just put it slightly further away from that tram line so we've got a little bit more space to play with on that side. Okay, so I've just pulled that out and away and added in the giraffe enclosure and the birdhouse as well. Now the birdhouse, I really want this right up next to this metro station. It's such a nice caged asset that you can see from this road. I think that's quite an important feature for it, that it's very visible. So I think right up next to the side entrance and the metro station here is a good position for that. And then we'll add in some more cafes and souvenir shops, etc. in a little plaza around this area as well. Now, just thinking of orientation for these, I think what I will do with the moose enclosure is actually just spin this round so that that inwards dippy bit is up closer to the river, like so. And I do want to try and avoid any paths joining onto roads here and onto the tram tracks so that we can try and get people to pay as much as possible going into here. But it's not a major concern. I think with the tram track, and especially if we add in a track stop here, we can't put in the side gates up against the tram tracks. There will be a little bit of people scooting through without paying. So we get these paths parallel here, and then what we'll do is just make a nice connection like so to bend round into the moose and reindeer enclosure there. And then with the monkey house, we'll just bring in a path straight across to the front of it like so. And I think we do, yeah, we can pull this out a little bit further. There's some access down to the side here, but yeah, I don't want it joining up to the tram track there. So that will do for access to that. Now let's just grab our elevator zoo path and we can continue it on. So what I really want with the elevated zoo path, let's just turn off all snapping except for to angles here so we can get a nice smooth angle out. We'll turn it to freeform as well. What I would like is this coming out in a little bit of a curve and over the tram track this side so that we've got access through to both sides. And we'll check the height of it in just a second. There we go. So that is looking a lot better there. Now, of course, we do want a connection down onto this side as well. So I am going to just bring a bit of a swoopy connection. We'll turn it back to normal ones down into this part here. And I think what we will do actually is just make that a little bit straighter. It's not too steep there, so I think we can get away with that. Then coming on down this side, we'll just continue the path on round here. And here, because we're going to have the tram track here, I think what we will do is just bring out a very small elevated bridge to get across the river like so. And then we will actually just join this up with a very simple connection across the tram roads like this. There we go. So we've got our paths connecting up there. And what I do want to make sure is at this node that we have a crossing. So let's again just use node controller there to make sure that we've got a crossing so that people can just cross straight over that tram track there. And then for the rest of the park, because we're not going to be putting in any more zoo assets, I am actually just going to continue the path on down this way to another entrance down here. And it will just be essentially a bit of a nature walk down to this end. And what I am thinking for this end is something a little bit special. And that is that we are going to use the Brandenburg Gate in here. Now, in order to achieve this, I do just need to adjust the tram line just a little bit. So I'm going to grab our tram road here and we'll actually just pause the game for a second. We're going to break it back there. And I know that there is a station which is going to go a little bit left there. So what we are actually going to do is just bring this straight out of this corner like so that we can have a nice tram stop there. And then here we'll just curve this round really nicely to make a smooth connection there. And now we are going to want to bring in the trams this way. So we're just going to upgrade that to the road with trams there. And because we still want the bike lanes, I am going to use that one. And then this one is going to have to be adjusted away from one lane, I think. So yeah, we'll bring that in like that. Now then, right in the middle of this road here is where I would like to put the Brandenburg Gate. So let's just grab that. And we can use this as essentially an entrance into our park area. Now, it's not connected to the road, which is super frustrating when we're aligning it into the centre here because this node is quite wide. Let's just go back to node controller, and if we just shift these in ever so slightly, yeah, we'll find that there is a connection there, which is really annoying. I think that still looks okay. So that gate sits nicely at the end of this road here. Now, in order to get our zoo gate in properly, what I am going to use is one of the gateless entrances. So we use the gateless side entrance here. And we'll just spin this round so it's against the road like that. And then I actually will just grab we want the zoo path without decorations, proper zoo path here, so that it's running through this. And we'll just place that out like so for the moment. And then what I can do is adjust this into the centre here. So anyone walking in through this section here and up this path will be paying to get into the park. And then hopefully what we'll see is we'll see floods of people walking right through the Brandenburg Gate here. And again, lots of detailing needs to happen right in front of this to make that all make sense and look good. So we will come on to that in the detail and time lapse. And then what we'll do is we'll just take a really windy path through the park here, and we'll have several little bridges crossing over these streams, which hopefully will look pretty cute. And we'll follow around the edge and then just join this up to the edge of our moose and reindeer enclosure here. Just like that. So that's nicely and winding through. And then similarly over this side as well, we are going to add in more path connections here. So we'll just change this again to elevated zoo path. And then what we will do is similar to the other station is we will just bring this down and cross it over the tram track like so. And let's just tidy that up just a little bit there. And then again, we'll make sure that we've got a crossing here for people to get over. Okay, so that gives us our path connections through this area. And so what we do need to do now is a lot of detailing around it. But just before we do that, let's just come onto this little plaza area, because I definitely want to make sure we've got a souvenir shop, we've got a cafe, and we've got restrooms down here as well. So let's just place in our cafe. And we can kind of use these as extra detailing for a little tram stop that we are going to put in here as well. So let's just have a little think about how we can do that really nicely. And I'm thinking what we can do is have the cafe in right about here. And then we can extend out the tables in front of a tram stop. So let's just go to our public transport network. Now, we did, have a stop here, which is hopefully going to adjust itself over to this side. There we go. So we've added that in. And then we will have another stop, as mentioned, down here. I'm thinking, actually, do you know what? We'll put it this side and we can have a little bit of detailing around here. But let's for now keep that there. And then the only other thing we want in here are the restrooms. So let's just place that in and we'll use Move It to adjust it. I'm thinking what I'm going to do is bring it right up alongside the cafe like so, that the backs of those are reasonably nicely aligned to the back of this path here. And yeah, people can get into the cafe from that side, so that looks quite nice, I think, there. And then again, we'll use tiling decals to flesh out this area when we come to the detailing time lapse here. And now just focusing on our tram stop as well, I definitely want to make sure that this is looking nice and detailed. So let's just grab our tiling decals here. And I'm actually just going to bring them all the way across the tram stop over this whole area to mark where the stop is, just like so. And actually we will make it slightly wider this end, so like that. We can use lots of nice fence patterns here as well. But I think because of the kind of redness of this tiling, I think we will use our brick wall prop fence in here. And we'll keep this nice and open to the back of the path here so that people can literally get off and get straight into the zoo. I think that's absolutely fine here. Again, we're not going for a Part 5 cheese or anything like that here. So I'm fine for people to potentially not pay. And then what we can definitely do is add in our usual props around this. So we'll get the little ticket booth props that we've been using for all of our tram stops throughout Auridon here. And then we can definitely use some shelters and some little nice stop detailing in here. So I'll go ahead and do that now. Okay, so yeah, that'll do for a little bit of tram stop detailing there. So we have just added in a few benches, nice little bit of fencing, restrooms there, and then similarly down here, I've actually put in a couple of shelters with the benches here, made it slightly different, a few planters there as well to give it a little bit of colour. But yeah, I think that will do nicely for our two tram stops there. And then we do just want to make sure as well that we have got a nice stop down here. We are stopping on the road there and we've got a turnaround at this point. And I think what we will do with that turnaround is just move it round so that it's down here, so that we're using this node here so that people can come straight off and hop straight into the zoo there. So let's just actually create it slightly nicer, just like so. And then we'll grab our stop here and just move that one up to there, so that those trams are coming in round and stopping there instead. And then we can, of course, just delete out this turnaround there. And I will for now as well just extend this path up. We may actually put in a few buildings, I think, down this side, but we will do that probably on a stream and have a little look at that side then. But for now, I think that will be okay. And I do just want to add a little bit of extra walkability in down this side. So let's just add in a small path connection here as well. And we will actually do a few of those. And then we've got this tram stop here as well, which could do with just a little bit of detailing. I'm going to grab the regular tiles for this one and add in a few here, just to give ourselves a little border. And then we can add in a shelter, I think, as well at this point. I think that will do for a little bit of basic tram stop detailing for those areas there. And let's again just increase walkability ever so slightly by adding in a connection up to this path this side. But that will do for the tram network there. So we've got a stop in the middle, one down either end. So there should be fairly decent access to our zoo. And let's just help this to level up a little bit by giving it some policy. So we'll give it the main path policy. We'll also give it animal ethics, and let's let's do advertising campaign, although we really are running out of money ever so really in this game, so that is something that we will need to look at. Right, so I think that is all the assets really for our zoo and our tram network there. So that all seems to be flowing quite nicely, and it just needs an awful lot of detailing around the river, around the zoo, creating this plaza out here as well. So we will come through and do that on the detailing time lapse. But the next little thing that I do want to look at is just a little park area over here. And what I would like to do, because this is the ziggurat garden and obviously the backdrop to it is pretty important, what I would like to do is have quite dense forestry area in here. And I have made some improvements to our forest brush. So we've got a few different colours going on here now. And what we will do is just add in quite a dense area of forest here. And I'm just going to make a little clearing in the middle because I want to do something quite special in this part of the park here. So what we are going to do is we are going to grab our terraforming tools again, and we are going to make a little bit of a key fountain like we did outside the stadium, but just a slightly different one. And don't do what I do. Turn the brush strength down before you do anything. Always turn the brush strength down. I always say that and then I completely forget. What we want is actually a really shallow dip here. So I think something like that will do absolutely fine. And then we'll just extend it out with our level terrain into a rough circle for now, but something like that will do absolutely fine. Then I would like to use the city key wide keys here. And what we will do is create a circle. So I am going to turn back on all of our snapping apart from to road guidelines. So we will go for 4 units by 4 units and collect close to 90 degrees as we can here. And then we'll continue that on round doing 4 by 4. And actually the angle doesn't matter too much because I will use a multi-network tool and the perfect circle tool here. Yeah, we'll do that like that. And then what we are going to do again is grab our water tools here. And I'm going to turn, the capacities are right down. Let's just hit pause on this. And what we're going to do is drag this. In fact, it's not even in the middle of the fountain. Let's do a bird's eye view over the top. And then what we'll do is we'll drag this right down into the fountain so we get a nice water level here. And we need to lift it up as high as it will go. Now let's press play and see if that is going to flood. I think it might just. So let's just keep our eye on that water there. Now, of course, we are going to want entrances into this part of the park as well. So I think we're just going to use bog standard pavement path for this. And we'll make a few connections. So definitely this cycle road, I'm going to bring that in, but we'll come right off this corner for now and we'll just bring this straight in. We'll move those trees out and let's turn off snapping there. And we'll bring them up to the quays so that people walk around the quays. And then what we're going to do is have some nice flowy path going out the other side to this crossing over here. So let's just clear out these trees. And then we can replace them back in nicely around the park there. So I want this quite hidden away in the forest here. And we're going to continue on with buildings around this area, but we'll just have a little bit of trees there for now. But I want this really nice open clearing kind of feel to it. And then what we will do is actually bring in a couple of gazebo assets as well. So we'll just have a few of these dotted around in various different corners here. And we'll grab our paths, and I'm going to use gravel path actually for this, and we'll just make some really loose connections onto the pavement path here. Now let's just have a little look at that water level because it does look like it could go even higher. So let's just adjust it up to there and see what that is like. But one thing I would like all around this is a bit of a wall, and I'm thinking what we will use for this is this prop fence, the white picket fence here, which I think will make quite a nice border to this. So let's just turn on our freeform tool so that we can get this in nicely. I think what that does is just gives a really nice border to this area. And yeah, that water level is now rising really nicely how we want it to. So we'll come in a second and add in our water feature to our keyed fountain area. Okay, so now that fence is in all the way around, and we have got someone walking around here, which is great to see. Let's just grab in our fountains. I'm thinking it's got to be this bad boy. So yeah, let's have this one in the middle here, and let's just make sure that it is right in the middle. Yeah, because this one raises up really nicely onto that plinth there. So I think that looks fantastic. And then what we will do is a couple of little fountain jets all the way around the outside. We want to get the height of these right. Like, we don't want them too high. So I'm thinking actually just the 7-meter ones are going to do really nicely in here. So let's grab those. Let's again go to bird's eye so that we can get this absolutely right. We've got our paths coming in either side there. So I think we will centralise them. And we'll go round this ring. Yeah, there we go. I think that looks all right. This one's in slightly the wrong place. Let's just grab that one and shift that over just a little bit. Yeah, all in all, I think that looks okay. It's an awful lot of fountainage going on here, but it kind of works. It kind of works. I am quite liking how that's looking. The fact that we've got people walking through here now and there's nothing really around it, I think is a good sign. We're definitely getting some buildings either side so that there is more reason for people to walk through this area. And yeah, there we go. Oh, yeah, there's quite a few people. There are quite a few people opting to walk through here, our little fountain plaza area. I think that will do nicely for a hidden little water feature. Let's just have a little look from the ziggurat garden. Yeah, you can't see it at all. It's totally hidden. But I think having that backdrop of trees here, and there'll obviously be more buildings crawling up in height up towards that downtown there, is a nice backdrop for our ziggurat and for our Canalodon area here. So what that does lead me on to is the detailing time lapse. So I'm going to add in quite a bit of landscape gardening, I think, around here. Nice flower beds all the way around this fountain plaza area. And then we will add in a small little boating lake here, a couple of little boats just going around, like almost like try and make them look a little bit like pedalos, that sort of thing. Maybe a little pier, something like that down this end. Lots and lots of forestry, rocks around the water's edge, reeds, that sort of thing to carry on that vibe from orifices over here. We need to make this a little bit more important, so some fence detailing around here is certainly needed. We'll finish off the plaza there and just, yeah, tidy up all of these areas. So I will go ahead and do that in a time lapse and be right back. And there we go. So we have got ourselves a detailed zoo park here, Zoo Central Park. And just to run down what I've done, so over in this car park here, we've lined it up with a bit of hedging. I've put a couple of picnic benches in and then this repeated Douglas fir pattern around the car park here, just to make that feel quite green and natural on the border of the elephant enclosure. We've used lots of zoo fence as well around here, just framed off this zoo plaza on the outside as well. And then coming onto the main entrance, I have just given this like a nice little natural border here with just a few bushes, which I think frames off that area quite nicely, just like that. And we've not really done too much else over this side, just added in lots of trees, lots of nature. I've just filled this bit with trees at the moment, but we will come out and do something a little bit more with that space, probably some more buildings out there. So coming over to this side, we have lined the entire park with a bamboo fence here. Added in clearly lots of rocks and reeds and the sand texture as well around the water amongst lots and lots of dense trees. So we want this to be quite a dense forested park. And then round the actual zoo assets itself, we've got a few repeated tree patterns, added in a couple of toilet blocks and the such like, but again, not very much else. And then along the tram track, we've clearly lined this with the fence as well, the bamboo fence as well. And I love this little bit here with the rocks kind of come over the water's flowing through it with all the reeds. I have arched these little bridges as well slightly, just to give them a slightly sort of nicer effect over the water here, a little bit more natural. We've detailed up this plaza here, lots of picnic benches going on, a couple of parasols and a couple of the zoo signs here as well, but again keeping it pretty simple around there. Just added in more fence and some bushes around the metro station out front there. We've already seen the tram stop, so yeah, as we come down it's just much of the same. So we've got these lovely little arched elevated zoo path bridges here over the water, the trams running through. I've popped in a couple of gazebos here as well to encourage people to keep walking through there. But they are now walking through the Brandenburg Gate, so it's acting as like our entrance to our main central park here, which I think is working out quite nicely. And then we've just hedged out the front here as well, just to give a little bit of a frame to the Brandenburg Gate. And clearly there'll be buildings lining up here, so I think that fits in quite nicely. I was tempted to extend it out and make it a little bit bigger either side, but I think actually this works quite well just as a park entrance rather than any kind of bigger feature than just that. And then down by the front of the University Administration building, I've actually decided to keep these patches as clear grass, which is pretty rare for me in Auridon. You don't see much of it, but I think it just helps to give this building a little bit more importance. We've got this fancy plaza in the middle, and then these just clear spaces, which helps to kind of frame it, I think, particularly in front of the crazy Auridon Park that we have going on out here as well. So I think that helps to add a little bit more importance. And then coming down into the boating lake, we've got a couple of boats on the water here. I've just used just a normal park life pier here, lined up a couple of boats to make it look like people come along and rent them there. And then just given them a little entranceway with a park toilet, a couple of benches and yeah, little ticket booth, newsstand, that sort of thing. Again, lining this all with hedges all the way around here to continue on that pattern from outside the front of the University Administration building. And then finally coming over to our fountain key park here, we've got this really quite nice little repeated flower pattern all the way around the outside. And then I've kind of kept this quite open and not really done much else with it. A couple of bushes here or there. I've chucked in some undergrowth and some longer grass in places just to give the woodland around here a little bit of a texture. A little flower on that gazebo, for example. But that's really it. I think the main difference we have on this one is, of course, our nighttime lights, which you may have seen in the detail in time-lapse, but there we go. We've got some more lights in Auridon. Definitely got a nice blue light here, which I think complements the ziggurat quite nicely. If we just come down to the ziggurat as well, so all you can see is those trees there with the skyline poking up in the background. And there will, of course, be many more buildings in the background here, so that layer of height will be built up in behind it as well, so it won't seem quite so far away. But it will have that big natural gap in between it. And then coming down here, the only other colourful light I've done this time is just this nice red light around this lake here. Oh, not forgetting a slight turquoise tint to our university fountain there. But that really sums up the park. And there's some really nice fields of view here. So if we come down onto this tram track in particular, and I will do a first person tour from here, the trip along this tram road is really awesome, coming down into the downtown there amongst these forests and these very natural fences. You then kind of come out into this big metropolis and keep on going through it. So yeah, I think it's got a nice effect to it. Now, just before we wrap up for the day, I do want to give this park a name, and I am going to name it after one of my top tier patrons who has been a patron of mine since right at the beginning, and I really, really so appreciate all of the support you have given me. But we are going to name this the Okie Dokie Loki Park. So there we have it. We have our Okie Dokie Loki Wildlife Park. Thank you so much for your support, ODL. I really appreciate it. You've been watching me on Twitch since right near the beginning, so yeah, super appreciate all of your support. And there we go, we've got the Okie Dokie Loki Wildlife Park in. But for today, that is going to be it. So if you have enjoyed the video, a like below is really appreciated, and drop me a comment, let me know what you thought and any suggestions for any other areas around our downtown. And next time we will be back filling out our arts district around Auridon Park, getting in more of that high density around here, building up to our main downtown skyline there. So that will be all coming next week. But that is all from me for now, so thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.